Welcome to the Pizza King Podcast, your destination for all things pizza business. I'm your host, Tyrell Reed, and every week we're taking a deep dive into the behind-the-scenes world of running a successful pizza business, from team building to sales growth, multi-unit strategies, and much more. Doesn't even matter if you're a pizza vet, just starting out in the game, just your first shop, whatever you're doing, this podcast will be your go-to resource for tips, strategies, and success stories. As always, send me your questions to info@tyrellreed.com. Go connect with me on Instagram at Pizza King Podcast. Let's get into the episode. All right, we back. Welcome back to another episode of Pizza King Podcast. I'm your host, Tyrell Reed. Excited to get into it this week. Good week in pizza last week. We had a good episode. We answered some questions. I thought that was fun to do some of the Q&A stuff, and I wanted to bring that back. So every week, I'm going to come, I'll start it up, and you can hear Callie running around here. Every week, I'm going to start it up with just some questions from the pizza community. Oh, no. I'm not going to do that. I am going to do that, but that's not how I'm going to start. Actually, I'm going to start with pizza of the week. That's something that I wanted to do. And this week was a fun pizza. We did the Philly Pizza Burrito. We did the Philly Pizza Burrito. So we took the pepperoni pizza, dropped the Philly cheesesteak in the middle of it, rolled it up, and cut it up like a burrito. You can go check that out on my Instagram page, Pizza King Podcast. You can see it on my personal page at Tyrell Reed Sr. We probably even posted it on the store page, West Shore Kingsway. But I wanted to ask if you've seen it, or if you've seen it, because that's what I'm scrolling like everybody else. And I saw this probably on TikTok or YouTube, wherever I was scrolling at the moment. And I'm like, I'm going to try that. I was in the store the other day, and JR was like, let's try it. Let's give it a shot. So we made it. And honestly, this shit was kind of good. It was fire. It was really good, actually. So what I wanted to ask the pizza community is, A, would you try it in your shop? Like, let me see y'all roll up the Philly, throw it in a pizza, make the burrito, send it to me, tag me. Or is it just too much? Is it overkill? Is the whole food scene getting a little bit out of hand with some of these crazy things? In my opinion, no, I love it. I think it's so fun making, all the crazy pies and doing all that. Even if it's stuff that I don't eat, I just like making it just to see what the team really is about, our team, because we just make it for us. Sometimes we put it on our secret menu, but we make this stuff for us, and we just have some fun with it. And I think it's super cool. We did though put the Philly, I gotta say it right. We did put the Philly Pizza Burrito on our Uber Eats menu. I don't think we've sold one yet, but we did put it up there. And I can't wait for somebody to order that thing, because it was fun, and somebody else will enjoy it. And it was actually good. Our Phillies are delicious. Our pizza's great. So it really was a no-brainer. I don't know why we thought it wasn't going to be delicious, but it was fire. It was fire. Go try it. Try it in your shop. But what I was talking about earlier, it was getting back to doing more of the Q&A, but I wanted to do it in a different way. So every week we'll come back and I'll answer some questions, or answer a question that came to me either through email, tyrellreed.com, info@tyrellreed.com, or if someone sent me a message on Instagram at Pizza King Podcast, and come on here and answer the question and talk about it. This week's question actually came from a client that I'm working with, and he's getting really close to opening his shop, to opening his pizzeria. And his question was simply, hey, I'm just getting ready to open. How long do you think it's going to take me to start making money? Meaning, in translation, I've been spending a lot of bread. I've been spending a lot of money. When is it going to start coming back? Because I think we all know that just turning the open sign on and turning the register on doesn't mean that you're going to come out of the gates making money doing this thing, because You got to build it up. My answer to him, and my answer to anyone who asked me this, who's just getting started or opening their first shop, I think you set the expectation right from the beginning that profit is something that has to be worked towards. Volume gets built over time. Expenses can get out of hand, but I told him you should expect that shit to take 18 to 24 months to start making some money. Can you make money faster? Absolutely you can. Can it take longer in some situations? Absolutely it can take longer too, but I'm telling folks that I work with, hey, let's put ourselves on a path to be profitable in 18 months. And understanding that comes with a lot of front end work and reinvesting and understanding where our break even is and pushing ourselves past that point so that we can start to realize some profit in this thing. So yeah, 18 to 24 months. Agree, disagree, please reach out, let me know. But that leads me into what I wanted to talk about today, which was how do we turn dough into dollars in this business? How do we get to, okay, T, it's going to take me 18 months to get profitable. How are we going to do that? And I know that I talk a lot about build a team. It's all about the people. This is a people business. You want to be successful, invest in people, build your business. But equally as important as having a great team to build a business around, you really need to fully understand how to manage the financial aspects of your business too. Are you getting monthly P&Ls? Are you reviewing those with your team? Are you in your partnership group talking through expenses and sales projections and forecasts? Like, understanding the financial aspect of this business is just as important, especially as an owner or someone who is, in that leadership role. You better know it. You better know your numbers. You got to know your numbers, because the numbers are what drive this thing. And look, I don't look at folks that get into this business as, folks that are, hey, we trying to get rich. We like what we do. I love making pizzas. I love interacting and engaging with the community. I love my team, but I also love the fact that this provides a good living for myself and for my partners and my team and my family and their families. That's all built around how we manage the financial responsibilities in that restaurant. Meaning, we're not letting expenses get out of control. We understand how to price ourselves for profitability. We're not overkill with labor and food costs and making a ton of mistakes and doing some of these things that cost you a ton of money. But I wanted to break down today what break even looks like, how you understand what your break even point, and then, start to see yourself in that profitable situation. So I'm going to go through my break even calculator. If you want the calculator, send me an email. I'll send it to you. It's just an Excel spreadsheet, but this is what we're going to be breaking down and going through today is average. Okay. Understand the average startup cost for a pizzeria in the US. That plays a whole lot into return on investment and ultimately profitability, especially if you're paying down a note or a loan that you took out to build your pizzeria, which most folks do, right? Understanding average sales, like what should you expect your pizzeria to do in sales versus, the reality of what's going on in your situation. Then there's, understanding what monthly expenses really look like in the pizza business. I think there's sometimes this misconception. Well, a lot of times there's a misconception, especially with folks that are close to you or on the team. They think every dollar you get in sales goes into your pocket, but there's a lot of expenses that come with running a restaurant, especially running a pizzeria. And there's some sneaky ones in there that aren't necessarily, showing up every month on a P&L, but certainly could start to cost you a lot of money. And then lastly, I'll get into the break even calculator, and then I'll finish it up with a quick team building tip to help you have this conversation with your leadership team and your staff, should you so choose to. All right, so let's get into it. Breaking down the numbers. And I'll admit, I'm not the numbers guy. I am grateful to have a partner that is a numbers guy, and he is, he really should be here having this conversation with y'all, because he understands the numbers better than anybody. And that is undoubtedly the reason why we have been able to remain profitable for a decade plus. So average startup cost in a pizzeria, and this is just straight from Toast, put it off the internet. Look, every situation is different, but Toast says average startup cost can range anywhere from $95,000 up to $2 million or more. And that's really dependent on how much you spend in the build out process. That's the biggest chunk of that is construction costs. Then there's furniture, FF&E, furniture, fixtures, equipment. Equipment can be, we talked about it before, you can get creative with equipment, or you can go all out and build a Taj Mahal. But understanding that is going to play a huge role in your overall return on investment and profitability going forward, right? What I think people miss out on it, and all that stuff you can find, that's on the internet. What I think gets missed is the fact that there are some extremely sneaky costs in the startup process. There's some sneaky costs out there in the startup. One of them, deposits. Utility deposits. These things can run you in the thousands. If you got to get gas, you got to get electric, you got to put deposits on these things. That can cost you some money. Even in the construction process, permits, surveys, little things like that just cost you $500 to have a guy come do a survey so that you can actually get the septic tank or the drain field or something. I mean, like, little stuff like that starts to pop up. Training, inventory. I think everyone kind of understands training costs, but then there's, you got to understand that what are you going to train them on if you don't buy the food? So that's food that you buy that you don't sell. So the cost is 100% on that food, 100% on that. So you got to understand that that's one of those sneaky costs to understanding that there's an inventory and inserted into the training process. Uniforms. You're going to buy uniforms for people that ain't never gonna work a day in your restaurant. Something you're going to put folks in uniforms to train, and then they're going to suck, and they're never even going to work for you, and they're going to have your shirt forever. You pay for that. That's a cost. That's a sneaky cost. But I think the sneakiest cost of them all, that's really not even sneaky, but it could really drive things crazy and drive things up, is just the cost of time and delays in the opening process. If you're paying rent and you're behind 3 months, that can kill you. That can kill your whole vision if you're not prepared for that. So watch out for the sneaky costs. Make sure you try to save some money up front. Negotiate everywhere that you can. A lot of, folks will do tenant improvement money, or they'll do a build a suit and things like that. So, as you're looking for your places and you're negotiating these things, just think about, how much you're having to put into it, and how that's going to return for you. So then once you understand costs, then I want to get more into that startup cost. But now I want to talk a little bit more about the ongoing costs and the monthly costs in doing this. But I want to pull this up on my screen over here so I can talk through it. Man, I'll drag you over there. All right. Now, you can't see my screen, but again, like I said before, if anybody wants me to send my break-even calculator. So let me break it down. Every time we look at a place, every time we consider a restaurant, we run the numbers on it to see if it's something that's going to make sense for us. Usually it's as simple as understanding what we think we can do in sales. And now at this point, we understand the market. We understand where the volume should land. So understanding where our sales projections are versus where the rent number is, and including the average cost of all of the other expenses, we can determine pretty quickly if this is a situation that we want to get into or not. So I encourage you to do this. And then even as an ongoing tool, weekly, monthly in stores, this is a good exercise to do with the team to say, as a measuring stick against your performance. And especially in an independent situation. If you're in a chain, you probably got tools like this. But in an independent situation, you want to start to have conversations like this around the financial performance of the business, so that people understand how their roles and how their daily activities and duties are playing a part into that situation, into the longevity of the business, right? So I run this break even analysis on a spot, and I'll plug in sales, I'll plug in the rent number. I got average cost for everything else, cost of goods, cost of labor, fixed expenses, operating expenses, repair and maintenance, utilities, even debt service if there's going to be some debt on it. So when you look at that, you can see how you're doing, and you can plug in your current numbers and see how you're performing. If you're not getting, hopefully you're getting a P&L. Hire an accountant. If you don't have an accountant, hire an accountant and get your monthly P&L so you really know what you're doing. Don't just manage the checkbook. That's a public service announcement. Don't just manage the checkbook. Hire an accountant. But you can drop your numbers in here and take a look at if this is going to be something that works for you. So national average, I wanted to talk about national average and how you can make money, what you should be expecting from a profit standpoint in a situation like that. So national average for an independent pizzeria in the United States is about $442,000 a year, roughly $8,500 a week. And you're talking about $500,000 business. That's significant. The question is, can you make money at that sales level? So I wanted to drop into the break-even analysis. Look, you're looking for a space, and I got a couple of examples here, what that really looks like from a profit standpoint. And I think it'll surprise you once you look at the bottom line. So we already know sales. We're gonna say we'll be average. We'll be average independent pizzeria in the United States, $442,000, $8,500 a week. If you're doing more than that, keep killing it. If you're doing less than that, let's work on getting to that national average and beyond. Rent, first big expense is going to be cost of goods. I like to go on the high side when I'm projecting cost of goods because things fluctuate, costs go up and down. But if you start to do your projections on the high side, you know that you can have there's some room in there when you're operating. So 35% on the food. Actually, I have it at 34.5. Cost of labor, 31%. That's pretty modest, especially in situations like Florida where we're seeing minimum wage start to go up. I know places like Colorado, California, those costs are rising at a very high rate as well. So, but I threw 31 in there. You can adjust it if you want this. You can make it higher. So giving you a gross profit of about 34.5%. Sounds great, right? If you're doing $8,500 a week, that's $2,900 a week that in gross profit. But then if we start to add in some of those expenses, and we see how quickly that gross profit starts to go away. Now, if we're looking at rent, I ran average rent in Tampa where I'm at, or in Brandon, about $25 a square foot. We'll call it a 1,200 square foot space. So that's going to be roughly $2,500 a month, $30,000 a year. So now you got that in there. I threw in legal and accounting. taxes and licensing, insurance, workers' comp insurance, non-owned and hire for drivers. And then so then you got another $4,000 right there just in those expenses a month, $900, $930 a week. Then we get down into operating expenses, marketing, cleaning supplies, credit card fees, payroll processing, pest control, POS supplies, office supplies, uniforms, linen service. That's going to be another $3,900 a month, $909 a week. Then we budget for repair and maintenance, because one thing I can tell you about running a restaurant, there's going to be repair and maintenance. So we budget. I always, encourage folks to budget 1% to 2%. This one, I budgeted on the high side at 2.5%, $950 a month. However, those costs, that's where you can start to see some savings if you're taking care of your repair and your maintenance and you're not seeing a lot of breakdowns, but we know the potential is there. I say bank that money, reserve that money so that you're ready for it when it comes, because the last thing you want to do is to have to go through a season without a piece of equipment while you build up your reserves to afford to do it. $1,000 a month repair and maintenance. Utilities, depending on where you are, utilities can fluctuate. Our budget is $1,700 in utilities, 4.5%, 5%. Just understand that that's in there. So now with that $8,500 that we did in sales, with no debt on it, less expenses, less operating expenses, utilities, repair and maintenance, supplies, marketing, all these things that we talked about, you're left with a net income of $485. 5 points. This is not a get rich quick scheme. Now you can scale that over time. To me, that's, that juice isn't worth the squeeze, right? Some people, it's like, oh no, that's great. I'm making $600. I'm paying myself. And look, in that labor, if you're working there, you're probably in there getting a salary. You may be able to pay yourself 40, 50K plus make an extra $500 a week in profit in the business. And that's fantastic. And that can be, a great lifestyle to make, to do that. And you make 75K and you got a business that you're taking care of. That's incredible. What I encourage folks to do is, using this calculator, understand where your break even is. So we look at those sales and we say, look, for me to break even, I need to do at that. So if you're making $500 a week there, break even is going to be a little bit less than that. So, if you're, at least if you're doing 8,500, you're making money. We understand break even. Our break even point is, we'll call it, call it 8,250. If we're doing 8,250 a week in sales, and we know that we're in a good spot. Now, that's just the beginning of it, because things can quickly go the other way. Remember I talked about sneaky costs in the startup. There's sneaky costs in the monthly and day-to-day operations too. Hell, you may spend $500 that week on Amazon and didn't even realize it. Or you may have been overbilled on your linen service for the last 3 months and hadn't paid attention to it. So this is why reviewing and understanding the financial process has become so important, right? But again, get the calculator. It's got a few different tabs on there. I don't want to get too caught up in the weeds of playing around with this spreadsheet, because I'm not a numbers guy, but I do love spreadsheets and I will play with this thing all day. But I wanted to show a client that I was working with what it looks like for him to make $100K in profit, what he would need to do to earn 6 figures out of his pizzeria. So please, you want to get a copy of this, you want to go through this with me one-on-one, give me a call, give me a text, shoot me an email, and we'll figure out a time to do it. The other side of this, and what I wanted to leave you with, was a quick team building exercise. I think once you go through the exercise of understanding a break-even analysis, that's where this penny exercise really comes into play. And I keep a bunch of these rows of pennies around, because it's like one of those fun exercises in a meeting that I like to do. I give everybody in the team two rows of pennies. That's 100 pennies, $1. And we'll go through this P&L exercise and we'll go. And, it's interactive. So I like to ask the questions. All right, everybody's got 100 pennies. Everyone's got a cup, something to throw the pennies in. And I'll tell them, look, all right, let's talk through the expenses of operating this pizza shop. And I'll go, all right, well, everybody's got their 100 pennies. You all are owners now. Let's see how much we make out of this dollar. How much does it cost? What's our cost of food here? Like, what's our food cost? And you'll get answers. And then they'll say everything from 10% to 20% or 50%. And you'll give them the number 35. All right, take your 35 pennies, throw them in the cup. Okay, what's the cost of labor? And you'll get all your answers, but then you'll tell them, all right, take 32 pennies, throw them in the cup. Now we're 67. All right, how many you got left? Oh, I got 33 left. Oh, that's good. You made 33 cents off that dollar of that pizza that we sold. But we didn't talk about the other expenses. What else do we have to pay? Rent. Okay, take 8 pennies, put them in the cup. Oh, utilities, take 5 more, put them in the cup. Oh, we got marketing. We had to market to these folks to get here. Take 4 more pennies, throw them in the cup. Oh, what about the rest of our operating expenses? Oh, the accountant, take a penny. Oh, we got to pay, we had to pay the linen service, take a penny, and then by the time you get down to the end of the sheet, you got those 5 pennies left, that 5% profit that we talked about. Use this break even. You got that 5% and you go, all right, so you made 5 cents off that dollar. And that's assuming that we did everything right. But what happens when we make mistakes? I'm like, what happens when we have to remake those pizzas? That food costs us double. Take 3 more pennies, put them in there. Okay, now you got 2 left. All right, but what happens if we make a mistake and we left the walk-in door open overnight and we had to throw the whole cooler away? Somebody take 5 more pennies, put them in a cup. Oh, but I'm out of pennies. Exactly. That's the game. That means I have to reach into my pocket or into my savings, into my 401k, into my IRA account to pull some pennies out so that we can survive. So that's why we have to follow the system and do things the right way so that we can continue to build our reserves up and grow this business and remain profitable, because mistakes cost us a lot. And that's usually the conversation I'm trying to have, is around just doing things the right way, following the system, not getting too far off reservation, because it plays a huge role into our overall profitability. But that's all I got for you. Another good episode, Pizza King Podcast. Come check me out next week. Remember, go check me out on Instagram. Leave a message or leave a instant message or direct message or whatever you want to do. Ask me your questions. Can't wait to come back on and do this next week. Peace. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Pizza King Podcast with Tyrell Reed. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to me. Got a topic you love to cover or a question that you want answered? Shoot me an email at info@tyrellreed.com or reach out to me on Instagram at Pizza King Podcast. I love hearing from all of the listeners. Before you go, here's a little extra gift for you. Head on over to tyrellreed.com and claim your complimentary copy of my ebook, Next Level Leadership. 21 lessons that took my career and business to the next level. And for my operators eager to collaborate, I'm offering a free 45-minute strategy call. Head on over to tyrellreed.com, scroll down, click the link to check out my calendar, book your call, and let's talk. Until next time, Tyrell Reed signing off. Pizza King Podcast. Peace.